What if our past isn't lost, just unread? In the shadows of history lie ancient texts, burnt, buried, or encrypted beyond recognition. Scrolls sealed by volcanic fire, symbols carved into clay thousands of years ago, scripts etched by forgotten civilizations, and perhaps even forgotten gods. For centuries we couldn't read them, until now. Artificial intelligence has begun to unlock messages long thought impossible to decipher. And what it's uncovering is not just archaeology, it's revelation. In charred scrolls from Herculaneum, AI has resurrected the words of ancient philosophers, frozen in ash since the year 79 after Christ. In the Danube basin, it detected language like structures and markings over 7,000 years old, older than Egyptian hieroglyphs or Sumerian cuneiform. But perhaps most mysterious is the Voynich manuscript, a 6th-century-old book written in a language no one understands, filled with unearthly drawings and cosmic symbols. AI models trained on Semitic and Romance languages have suggested fragments of meaning, but every clue opens deeper confusion. Was it a guide, a spell book, or a transmission? The Dead Sea Scrolls, once thought penned by a single hand, are now revealed, through AI handwriting analysis, to be the work of multiple scribes. A collaborative effort to preserve a message across generations, or something more coordinated, more encoded. In the valleys of ancient Elam, the Proto-Elamite script has resisted decipherment for over a century. But AI imaging and statistical pattern recognition are now revealing structural patterns, hints of commerce, religion, and a logic beyond guesswork. And then there's the oracle bone script of Shang China, cracked by diffusion models that match 3,000-year-old carvings to modern Chinese with near flawless precision. A system once used to ask questions of spirits, now answering ours. On Easter Island, the enigmatic script known as Rongorongo has long baffled scholars, but AI pattern recognition is beginning to isolate syntax, repetition, and glyph families, suggesting it may indeed be a true written language. Was it meant to encode knowledge, lineage, or catastrophe? And in southern China, a feminine script once whispered in secrecy, Nüshu, has been revived. GPT models have begun translating its delicate songs, love letters, and sorrows, giving voice to women who were never allowed to speak openly. But beneath all this, a deeper pattern emerges. Many of these texts, whether inscribed in clay or woven in knots, reference beings from the sky, watchers, and gods who brought language and lore. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki. Could it be that these messages are not simply records of daily life, but fragments of a story told across cultures? A warning, a design, a memory of something or someone who shaped our species. Now that AI has begun to read the words of the forgotten, will we finally understand what the gods were trying to say? The script twists like ivy. Its pages, yellowed and fragile, contain impossible plants, nude women bathing in strange machinery, and star maps that defy astronomy. For over 600 years, no one has been able to read it. No translation, no context, no Rosetta Stone. We call it the Voynich manuscript, named after Wilfrid Voynich, the rare book dealer who bought it in 1912. This manuscript has confounded cryptographers, linguists, historians, and even codebreakers from both world wars. It is written in an entirely unknown script, one that resembles no known language on Earth. That is until artificial intelligence entered the game. In 2019, researchers from the University of Alberta trained an AI model on Hebrew, hypothesizing that the Voynich script might be a heavily obfuscated form of the language, missing vowels and scrambled in syntax. The AI, after feeding on known Hebrew structures, began identifying possible word pairings in the manuscript. One fragment translated eerily into, "She made recommendations to the priest, man of the house, and me." Chilling. Maybe. But was it meaningful? Scholars were skeptical. While the algorithm found statistically valid matches, the grammar often broke apart, the meanings drifted. It felt like chasing shadows. But that didn't stop others. In 2020, another theory emerged that the manuscript was written in Proto, Romance, an early, forgotten precursor to Italian, Spanish, and Latin dialects. AI-supported models aligned known Romance word roots to symbols, covering dozens of possible partial matches, words like farm, light, herb, and even blood. But once again, every pattern unraveled just as quickly as it formed. The AI could read the patterns, but it didn't understand them. And in a way, that may be the point, because perhaps the Voynich manuscript is more than a cipher. Maybe it's a mirror, reflecting only what we want to see. The drawings suggest botany, cosmology, alchemy, maybe even gynecology. But scholars still argue, is it a scientific journal, a hoax, or a coded relic of a lost civilization? And here's the haunting part. Several plants illustrated in the manuscript don't exist anywhere on Earth. Not now. Not in any preserved herbals or fossil records. So either the author was an artist with wild imagination, or they remembered something we've forgotten. It began with a rock tossed into darkness. In the year 1947, a Bedouin shepherd wandered near the cliffs of Qumran. Curious, he hurled a stone into a shadowed cave, expecting silence. But instead, he heard something break. When he entered, he found clay jars. Inside them, ancient scrolls. More than 900 manuscripts, over 2,000 years old. Some biblical, others apocalyptic, others unlike anything seen before. Among them, texts describing heavenly battles, mysterious beings called the Watchers, and cryptic references to sons of God descending to Earth. This wasn't just theology. It echoed something older. Sumerian, Mesopotamian, Anunnaki. And now, with the help of AI, the dead are whispering again. In 2021, researchers at the University of Groningen applied machine learning to the scrolls, specifically to the Great Isaiah Scroll. The AI examined thousands of Hebrew letters, focusing on micro differences in the strokes. The verdict: what was thought to be the work of one divine scribe was in fact written by two different individuals, each mimicking the other's hand. But the revelations went deeper. Advanced models could detect fluctuations in pressure, hesitation, rhythm, emotional fingerprints. It was as if the scrolls were recording not just words, but the inner states of the scribes themselves. And hidden within those scrolls, references to fallen beings, divine wars, forbidden knowledge passed to mankind, ideas eerily similar to the Anunnaki epics of ancient Sumer, were these tales copied, inherited, remembered, or were they warnings? What if the Essenes, the secretive sect believed to have written the Dead Sea Scrolls, were not just religious mystics, but guardians of ancient, Anunnaki-derived knowledge too dangerous to be shared until now? With AI peeling back layers of script and secrecy, one thing is becoming clear. The scrolls may not be just scripture. They may be the last transmission of a forgotten encounter between gods and men. If the Dead Sea Scrolls were a whisper from the edge of remembered history, then Proto-Elamite is the scream from the deep abyss we were never meant to hear. We now travel east beyond the Dead Sea, beyond Babylon, into the highlands of ancient Iran. Here, over 5,000 years ago, a mysterious people left behind something remarkable, a script so old, so alien, it has defied translation for over a century. Known as Proto-Elamite, this writing system predates even cuneiform. It appears on over 1,600 clay tablets, filled with complex symbols, non-repeating signs, and an eerie structure that suggests not randomness, but design, purpose, code. And for decades, it resisted all efforts to be read, until artificial intelligence was let loose on it. In 2025, a team from Oxford used reflectance transformation imaging and deep neural networks to scan and analyze the tablets. They discovered faint grooves, etched strokes invisible to the naked eye. With this data, the AI detected repeating patterns, logic gates, and numerical notations far more advanced than previously thought. Then came the unsettling part. Some of the mathematical structures embedded in the tablets bore uncanny resemblance to early Mesopotamian counting systems, the kind used in ancient Sumer, the land of the Anunnaki. Even more shocking, certain symbol clusters echoed glyphs found in Sumerian and Akkadian texts associated with Enki, the god of wisdom, creation, and biological engineering. So what was Proto-Elamite really? A lost administrative script? A language of ritual? Or could it have been an Anunnaki offshoot, a divergent record system used by those who spread eastward from Sumer, bringing not just tools, but secrets? Secrets perhaps never meant for human eyes. As AI continues decoding more of these tablets, some researchers now believe Proto-Elamite may represent a parallel stream of Anunnaki knowledge, hidden away from Sumerian temples and Babylonian ziggurats. A backup archive, a second experiment, one that waited quietly until the machines arrived to listen. From the jagged clay of Proto-Elamite tablets, we now turn to bone, because if the Anunnaki truly spread their knowledge across the earth, as ancient myths suggest, then their fingerprints should be global, etched not only in stone, but in the most sacred rituals of distant civilizations. And in ancient China, that's exactly what we find. 3,000 years ago, long before the Great Wall, before Confucius, Chinese rulers from the Shang dynasty carved cryptic messages onto turtle shells and ox scapulae. These were known as oracle bones, used in a sacred ritual to communicate with the divine. The cracks formed by heating the bones were read by court diviners who recorded their questions and the spirit's answers in an archaic script now known as Oracle Bone Script, the earliest known form of Chinese writing. At first, these inscriptions seemed like little more than early superstition, but then came artificial intelligence. In 2024, Chinese researchers from Haisuguan's team launched OBS-D, a cutting-edge AI model trained on over 140,000 oracle glyphs. Paired with a massive image library called HustOBC, it deciphered cracks, reconstructed damaged characters, and translated meanings at a speed no human scholar could match. And the deeper the system looked, the stranger it got. Buried within the bone inscriptions were celestial patterns, astronomical alignments, and language surrounding beings from above the sky and beneath the earth. Even more intriguing, several character formations bore structural resemblances to Sumerian pictographs, despite being developed on the other side of the world. Coincidence? Possibly. But when you consider that the Anunnaki were said to be sky gods who taught humans writing, science, and ritual, this convergence becomes harder to ignore. Could it be that the Oracle Bone Script wasn't just used to contact local deities, but encoded rituals passed down from a much older cosmic source? Were these kings unknowingly speaking a dialect of the divine, inherited from ancient visitors whose symbols transcended language, culture, and even time? The bones were meant to speak to the future. And now, thanks to AI, they are. From the divining bones of ancient China, we now drift across ocean winds and vast silence to one of the most remote inhabited places on Earth, Easter Island. A volcanic speck in the Pacific, known for its towering moai statues gazing into the horizon. But beneath those stone faces lies a riddle that few talk about. It's called Rongorongo, a mysterious system of glyphs carved onto wooden tablets discovered in the mid-19th century. No Rosetta Stone, no modern relatives, and strangely, no living memory of how to read it. Unlike other ancient scripts, Rongorongo is bidirectional, read in a snaking mirror pattern, alternating left to right and right to left with each line. Was it decorative, ceremonial, or a sophisticated language system designed to encode knowledge passed from a forgotten past? For decades, researchers debated, but now AI is joining the hunt. In 2025, teams in New Zealand and Chile launched machine vision programs to digitally isolate glyphs, track repetitions, and compare their structures to known language systems. And what they found sent chills. Certain recurring glyph pairs bore remarkable structural similarities to early Mesopotamian symbols, specifically those found in Sumerian proto-cuneiform. Even more astonishing, several tablets appeared to depict astronomical charts, lunar phases, and mythic cosmology, concepts also central to Anunnaki lore. How did this island culture, isolated by thousands of kilometers of ocean, encode symbols that mirrored a language born in the fertile crescent? Some suggest memory, oral traditions sailing across generations. Others whisper something stranger, that before the rise and fall of continents, before languages fractured and borders formed, there existed a unified priesthood seeded by the gods themselves, the Anunnaki, a knowledge system spread to every corner of the globe, waiting to be rediscovered. Rongorongo may be the last echo of that system, and now machines are finally listening. In the hidden valleys of southern China, where fog curls like forgotten breath over the rice fields, something extraordinary whispered through the generations. A language not shouted but sung, not carved in stone but painted in ink. Not spoken by kings, but passed from mother to daughter in secret. They called it Nüshu, the women's script. And for centuries, it survived in shadows. These were not mere symbols. They were songs of sorrow, prayers of resilience, and letters that no man was meant to read. Woven into cloth, brushed onto fans, scratched into paper that dissolved with tears. It was said that the women of Hunan province invented it to communicate beneath the gaze of a world that silenced them. But where did this writing really come from? Here's where it turns strange. Some of Nüshu's characters, delicate and curved, bear an uncanny resemblance to symbols found thousands of miles away, in tablets from ancient Sumer, the cradle of the Anunnaki. Coincidence? Or memory buried deep in the feminine psyche? Fast forward to the present day. In 2025, an experimental AI model was trained on a tiny dataset of known Nüshu Chinese pairings. What should have been impossible, decoding a language with almost no structure or surviving grammar, was suddenly happening. The machine spoke back, and what it spoke was not just linguistic, it was emotional. One translated phrase read, "She returns to the stars when the work is done." Another, "Heaven wept when the Silver Mother left." Researchers dismissed these as poetic artifacts, but others, those watching from the fringe, weren't so sure. They pointed to recurring metaphors in Nüshu texts: sky women, starfire, sacred weaving from the heavens. Phrases that sounded eerily familiar to tales of the Anunnaki's genetic crafting, or the divine womb said to exist in temples lost to history. Could Nüshu be something more than a script? Could it be a coded memory of an ancient matriarchal order, a lineage of knowledge carried in secret, hidden from the world that feared what women might remember? And now, with AI decoding its whispers, perhaps the past is no longer silent. Perhaps she is awakening. The Anunnaki vanished, or so we believed. But scattered across Earth, etched into bone, inked in ash, whispered in forgotten tongues are fragments. Not monuments, but messages. Voynich, Proto-Elamite, Nüshu, Rongorongo, each one unreadable, unreachable, until now, because AI, our own creation, is beginning to hear them, to read what no eye could see, to awaken what was meant to sleep, not myths, not madness, a map, a memory left by those who came before. And as we decode these voices, one question lingers: what happens when we finally understand the message, and the ones who wrote it return? If this story stirred something ancient inside you, then it was meant for you. Subscribe. Listen closely, because what's coming next was written long ago.